evening. It's Monica from Life is Art and Scrap. It's almost Monday. Let's create and just waiting. There we go. Video started. Let's get ourselves lined up here. I think we're pretty much centered. We just have to get the mat moved up so that we can be in the screen. And I went too far because there's lag on the camera. Ah, gotta love it. How is everybody this evening? Have you had a good weekend? We had a few adventures this weekend. We ended up at urgent care. Yeah, that was fun. It's all good. Everybody's fine. But you know, late night adventures. But thankfully, we have access to that, and so that sets our minds at ease a little bit. All right, tonight we are going to be we're going to be using a collection from the September to December mini catalog, and we have just hit December. So those of you who have been thinking about what's coming next, as demonstrators, we've been able to see the stuff that's coming in January, stuff for Celebration, for those of you who are familiar with the big sale that happens every year with Stampin' Up. And so yes, some exciting things coming, but we still have December. And so we are working on the collection Snowy Scenes. I'm getting down to the final little bits and pieces of my paper. I think the rest is probably going to be used for some cards. I might be able to squeak another layout out of it though. But so it's a beautiful collection. I love the fun colors. I think it's great for winter. It doesn't necessarily have to be Christmassy. And so great for those snowy days, and you know, lots of snowmen in here. So just for enjoying the outdoors in the winter. Although my layout today isn't going to be about the outdoors. In a way it will, but in a way it won't. I don't know if that makes sense. If you're joining me live, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. And if you're watching later on replay, you can say replay. All right. I've got all my lights on, but it always seems to feel a little bit dark lately. I'm not sure why that is. But we will continue on. My base page that I'm using for this 12 by 12 layout, I'm going to be using some basic white for this. And I think I'm going to stick it right down to my mat before we start, just to make sure it doesn't move, doesn't go anywhere. So I'm just going to use some of my adhesive, and we're going to stick it right down. And I never worry about doing that because the adhesive comes off my mat and it comes off the paper. You just have to use an adhesive eraser and easy peasy. But this keeps us kind of lined up, especially when I'm doing a video and you don't want your paper to be sliding all over the place, as it sometimes does, just because that's how things go sometimes. Hey Mom, nice to see you're watching, and Heather's here too. Good evening. I hope you guys had a good weekend. All right, so we're going to be creating this layout. Oh, pardon me. Oh my gosh. Late night last night. It was after 2 in the morning when we got home from urgent care. And so it was about 3:30 by the time I went to bed. So yes, late night. All right, I'm going to start out with a piece of the designer series paper from the Snowy Scenes. And this is a really fun plaid. It is not even. It looks hand-drawn or hand-painted. And it's just a lot of fun. It's got some petal pink in there, some poppy parade. And this has been cut to 11.5 by 4 inches. It's the back side of these fun snowman, which I'm actually surprised I had a big enough piece of this to use, because I have been fussy cutting some of these snowmen as well as using the plaid, but I miraculously had a large enough piece to make this 11.5 by 4 inch piece. All right, we're going to come down 1/4 of an inch from the top of our layout, and we're just going to stick that on there. Now, I had a quandary going on in my brain about inking the edges. I thought about inking the edge of my page. I thought about inking the edge of my plaid. And my quandary kind of went like this. It made the most sense to use either Poppy Parade or Garden Green for doing the inking. But I always wonder about inking like green on something that's red or red on something that's green. Like, does it make sense? Then I thought, well, I could ink everything in black, but that seemed odd. Now, Early Espresso is one color in this collection, and so I could have inked with brown, but I didn't really want that. So I've decided to not ink any edges, although I think inking the edges on this would kind of make a nice statement, but we're just going to skip it because I couldn't make up my mind. I was having the quandary. Do you ever have quandaries while you're creating? Hey, Pauline, how are you? How are things in Australia? The next piece that we're going to come in with is a strip that is 11.5 by 1 inch, and it's the lovely snowflake pattern. And this has got Garden Green and Pool Party on there, and all kind of jumbled up and mixed up together, and lots of fun layers. At the back side are these cute little snow globes. And again, I'm surprised that I had to really work to get this one piece. It was just barely enough around all the fussy cutting that I've done to find a 1-inch strip. That's the problem when you fussy cut your designer series paper. You tend to then not have any solid pieces for doing things like this. But miraculously, it worked. Pauline says it's hot today. Second day of summer. Yep. And we're just right into the chilly and kind of unhappy weather. There was power outages in some parts of Ontario yesterday with snowfalls, and part of the Trans-Canada Highway was closed, and I think part of Highway 11 was closed. We didn't really get anything here. We got like the odd snowflake in the air, but nothing other than that. Okay, so we've added those 2 pieces of paper. Then I've also, let's bring in the photos. So the photos that I'm using today, and I don't know if you noticed the title before you clicked in, which was, do you want to build a snowman or want to build a snowman? And so I have these 2 pictures. Now this might look vaguely familiar to some of you, because I have previously scrapped a layout for Julia's album of her with a little sock snowman that she created. Well, considering that she was like 2.5, 3 years old at the time, Mom really helped her with the project. But the boys also both made sock snowmen, and so I thought it was high time that I got their photos onto a layout as well. And so this was at Papa's house because I had done an all-day Saturday afternoon event with, not an all-day and only in the afternoon. Well, I did an all-afternoon event with the ladies at our church, and we had made these sock snowmen. So you use like tights to make the snowman, and you fill rice inside the bottoms of them, and then you put a little bit of stuffing in the top and cinch it up with some string, and then you use socks to create the little sweaters and the little hats for them. And then we used buttons and also some little bits of toothpick painted orange for the noses. So it was a really fun little craft that we did. And so I have these pictures of the boys, and I thought, you know what, this paper pack is going to be brilliant for getting these documented. And so I thought I better get it done before I run out of paper, or I'll have to order some more, which, you never know, I might just end up doing anyway. So I'm going to take my 2 photos, and I'm going to put a white photo mat behind them here. So my photos are approximately 3 by 4. Yeah, they're pretty close to 3x4. So I cut my matting at 3 1/4 by 4 1/8 ish. And that's right, I already put adhesive on here. We're going to center them on these white mats. I've got a white cardstock sitting on top of white cardstock, so it's hard to see the edges. So I tried to cut them the exact same size. And I don't know if you can see here, there's a perforation line. I have the, what is it, the Canon Selfie printer that I use for printing my photos. And it has the little ends that you rip off after. But if you print a 4x6 and you want it to actually be 6 inches long, you end up having to have some of that. The photo overhangs where the perforations are. So if you want the true size, which I did because I printed these on the same piece and I would have chopped off important bits if I hadn't, then you have to put up with the little perforated lines. So all my albums have little perforated lines on the photos, and I'm okay with that. All right, now I want to kind of group these two together because they're kind of smallish photos and it's a single page layout, but it's, you know, it's a big page, 12x12. So I've also got a piece of the garden green, which is going to match with our 1-inch strip there that has the garden green. And this is 6 3/4 by 4 3/8. And we're just going to go ahead and we're going to stick these guys down on there. So let me grab some adhesive. Now for these photos and the white mats, you'll notice that I am adding my adhesive fairly close to the edge. But when I go to put this green layer on, I am going to not put the adhesive right at the edge. And that's because I need to do a little bit of tucking at the bottom. So if you wonder why that happens, that's the method to my madness. So there, now we've grouped them together. And we're going to kind of overlap that 1-inch bit a bit. We're going to put adhesive at the top, and we're going to kind of go about 2/3 of the way down with our other piece of adhesive, not all the way to the bottom. Don't worry, it won't fall off the layout. And then let's stick this on right about there. That looks all right. And then I want to bring in some other patterns from this collection. And in fact, there's one pattern that I don't even think I have used in a project yet, and that's these cute little candy canes. So I have this little stripy one, and this is 2 inches by 2 inches. Then I've got these cute little candy canes. These remind me of the little, oh, what are they called? The sprinkles that you put on cupcakes and stuff. There's a fancy name for them. Somebody who does a lot of baking will know what you are. But there's been a few years where I've bought like ones that look like little candy canes, one that looks like teeny tiny little gingerbreads, and they're so cute for decorating Christmas cookies. So this one is 2 inches by 3 inches, and then this one with the beautiful holly and berries is 2 inches by 3 1/4. Now I want to dovetail the end of all of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip in the center like that, about 1/4 of an inch-ish, maybe 3/8. And then I'm going to come from the corners to the top of that snip in a straight line, hopefully, and trim that off. Now I could, if I wanted to, lay them one on top of the other. Maybe I will, just to mark the center. And then there we go. Whenever you do that, you always go back to your original one. You don't play a game of telephone when you're trying to make things matchy-matchy. You go back to the original, right? It's like photocopying. Did you ever get photocopies of things, at a meeting or at school, and you can tell that the thing has been photocopied like 20 times because nothing comes out exactly clear? I always hated that. You'd get like a worksheet from the teacher or something, and there'd be like pieces cut off, and some pieces would be too light, some pieces would be darkened out, and you're just like, could we have gone back to the original to, to print this or photocopy it? Probably nowadays with, everybody using computers, then yeah, they'll just print a new one and then photocopy the new one. But back in the day, I remember it was just, it was always a pain in the tuchus when you got worksheets that you couldn't see things. Maybe I'm just a particular person, but all right. So we're going to take the backing off this first one, and I'm going to do the lock unlock here, and I'm going to swivel this around to get my little spatula in case I need my spatula to help me lift. And then I'm going to add this one right near the edge. So it's tucking under, maybe 1/4 of an inch, but I want to come up about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom of the page because we left a 1/4 inch border at the top, and just stick that down. But I'm pretty close to the end there. And then I'll come in with this next one. Let's see, maybe this, oh, look at that. The spatula works for both. I'm used to using the pokey tool for peeling, but the little spatula works for that as well. All right, now this one is going to come in beside. We're going to make it a little shorter. We're going to leave a tiny little gap, not much. There we go. And then our last one, add some adhesive. And isn't that funny? A spatula is used for lifting things. What? You'd almost think I would have thought of that. And then this one's going to overlap. And it's going to come up again a little bit more. Try to make it somewhat straight. And there we go. So we've got our little row of, now let me see, we'll unlock, stick it back the other way around. There we go. Okay. Our little row of dovetailed flags hanging there. And they're all probably slightly crooked, but that's okay. Now, to add some embellishing to this layout, we want to bring in some pieces, and you know me, I have gone ahead and done some fussy cutting so that you don't have to sit and wonder what's happening. So I have fussy cut out some of the little snowmen. So this was a snowman that was inside of a snow globe. The globe came around like this. It was a round one. So there's little bunches of snow. There's our snowman, some trees. So I fussy cut around this as one whole group. And then when I came to the bottom, of course, this was where the bottom of the snow globe was. I just came out a little bit and wrapped around and then out and out. And that kind of creates a base. If you just like come down and then go across, it's not quite as scenic looking. But if you kind of bump out a little bit and then come out and then carry across and come in again, like it creates that look of a little snowy scene. So this is going to kind of find its way up here to this corner and probably come down to about the line where that is. And then I've got one of those snow globes that I was talking about, and it's just got trees in it. Isn't that cute? So you can see the little snow, the little background there with the little falling snow, because of course this should make a shaker, right? So we're going to attach that over on this side because there was nice space left for that. If you wondered why I'm offset, this gives us some nice space. Plus, we're going to do a few other things. And then I wanted a little something else besides just the snow globe. So from the pattern paper, so this wasn't from a snow globe piece. This was just from the pattern paper that was on the back side of this. I grabbed one of the snowmen and there was a tree right near it. So I did the same thing. I made myself like a ground line so that this line and this line are sort of in the same line. And then I kind of came out and around and back up and created almost like he's sitting on a little patch of ice or something. And so that little guy is gonna kind of hang out around here somewhere. Maybe like that. And then also from that same pattern paper, I grabbed a few more trees. Just because, you know, you can never have too many trees. Can you? Can't you? It's hard to say. It might be too many trees. But we're going to make like a little tree cluster. So I cut out one of the tall ones, one of the skinny ones, and one of the little ones. And we're just going to make a little tree cluster over there. And we're going to try and keep it, you know, everything's moving because nothing's stuck. Because we're just talking about stuff right now. So we're going to kind of keep that in a line. All right. Now, keeping that imaginary line going all the way over to here, let's also create another little something over here. And so for that, I thought, let's take some of the pattern paper that has the little houses. You see that? So out of the pattern paper, I cut around my little houses and I gave them little bases. You know, I did the same little trick where you come out a little bit and you come in and come out and in and out. And you want to keep your lines very horizontal when you do that. You don't want to go up and down. You want to keep them very horizontal. And so we've got a couple little housey things going on. And we're kind of trying to keep that line going across somewhat. And to go along with this, of course, I fussy cut another snowman. And this one's a little different. He's got a scarf and earmuffs. This one is just a plain snowman. And this one has a yellow toucan or a beanie. So we're going to put that little snowman in the center between all those little houses because I think that's super cute. So let's get those things stuck down. Some of the things I'm going to stick down with dimensionals. So let's get this guy up here. We're going to add some dimensionals. Oops. On there. And let's stick them on. Now I do all the fussy cutting ahead of time so that I save time when we're on video. But then I talk about it, and then I probably spend as much time talking about it as I did cutting it out. See how that works? All right. So let's stick this on here like so. And then let's come over here to this. Grab our snow globe. Now the snow globe we're just going to stick down with our adhesive. And I did do a little bit of surgery on this snow globe. This snow globe had a petal pink base on it, and I wanted the brightness of the Poppy Parade. And I had previously cut apart another snow globe that had a Poppy Parade base, and so I just went ahead and stuck it right on here. So this part is very thick, and this part is very thin because this is 2 layers and this is only 1. So sometimes you can even do surgery on your cutout pieces, right? You make them work for you. All right, let's stick this down. We're going to kind of bring it right up to that border there. And then let's add some dimensionals on the back of our snowman. So let me know in the comments, are you somebody who adds dimension to your layouts, or do you prefer to have your layouts flat in your albums. I'm kind of either way. Sometimes I use more dimension and sometimes I don't. And I figure that kind of evens out in the end. So if you're worried that adding too much dimension will make your album too bulky, then you just sometimes make things flat. All right, let's add a couple on here. And I like using my tweezers, as you know, to put things because I can see around the tweezers what I'm doing. Whereas you don't want to maybe go too far over. Whereas with my fingers, I tend to not be able to see what I'm doing. I have big hands and they get in the way. So this is the compromise. So there's that. And then let's add a dimensional, just one, on this little tree. Happy little trees. I feel like Bob, what's his name? Bob Ross. I wanted to say Bob Barker there for a minute. And I was like, nope, that's wrong. It's not Bob Barker. Bob Ross. He always painted happy little trees, right? Okay, and then let's come over here and let's, yeah, we're going to add dimension to these. Why not? Just because we can. Sometimes people say just because you can doesn't mean you should, but in this case, I think it totally means we should. There we go. Bob Ross also talked about happy little accidents. Sometimes things happen while you're painting that are accidents, and then it turns out to be a lovely thing. And that sometimes happens when you're scrapbooking too. All right, now we're kind of going for that little horizon line across here, and that works out well because the bottom of this photo doesn't have a lot going on in it, so we can totally do that. And we don't want to leave this one out, so we'll add a couple dimensionals. You notice there on that last piece I snipped the edge bit. Don't throw those edge bits out. You can get a lot of crafting done with those. I don't know why anybody would, but I've seen somebody do it, and that it shocked me. I was like, you're throwing it out? But I guess they were like, well, all the dimensionals are gone. I'm like, but the edge is the exact same thing. It's just skinny, and sometimes that's what you need. Just surprised me. Because I'm like, just use it all. Alrighty. Our nice little snowman. With his cheerful little earmuffs. So cute. Earmuffs and scarf. He's coming a little lower than the horizon because he's a little bit closer to us. All right. Now, for a little extra embellishment. Hey, Deborah. No worries. You can be late. It just means you'll have to watch the beginning part later on replay, and that's okay because that's what replay is for, right? So another thing that I did ahead of time was I took my stamp set, the one-of-a-kind stamp set, and I stamped out this largest snowflake. And then I used the dies, because I got the Stampin' dies, and I used the die to cut it out. I stamped it in Pool Party, and I stamped and die cut 3 of them. And so we're going to add those onto our layout here, and we're gonna kind of tuck them in places to add a little bit of extra embellishment onto our layout. And I see I actually got some weird little ink thing there. And look at that, amazing. This little snowflake is totally going to cover that up. How cool is that? I'm actually going to shift that one over there. That's looking good. Okay, so this one, because it's going to be on top of the snow globe, let's add a couple dimensionals to it. Like that. Nice. And then this one's going to be sort of in behind, so we're just going to add some adhesive. Kind of gives you an idea of why I do some and not others. Just depends on where they're going to sit. If they're going to come in front and you've already done some popping, then go ahead and pop it up. And if it's going in behind, again, I need these. I'm just working around. There's a foam dot in behind his head, so it's kind of accommodating for that. And then this one I'm going to stick down with adhesive as well, because it's kind of going in behind everything. Like that. And then really all we have left to do is a title and maybe something a little blingy. There we go. So we've kind of created 3 clusters, and I think that's fun. We've also got 3 flags going down here. We've tried to have a little bit of a mix of pattern sizes. So we have our little candy canes, which is a tiny pattern. We've got some plaid and we've got some stripes. Then we've got larger hollies, slightly smaller mid to mid snowflakes. Then we've got the ones that have been stamped that are larger. We've got a big snow globe and little tiny houses. So those juxtaposition in sizes really help kind of create interest on your page. It makes your eye move around, because you'll be like, oh, look, a snow globe. And then you'll be like, the snowman. Oh, there's a snowman over there. Oh, my goodness, the little houses. Oh, and look at this. There's a little. So your eye moves around. And then you're also like, I know why she used snowmen, because the kids were making snowmen, right? So, speaking of which, let's move on to our title. And for my title, I wanted to use cut out letters. And so I've got my mini alphabet dies here. And I cut out some letters and also a question mark, because I decided to do the title, Do You Want to Build a Snowman? Because when I got home from the ladies' day, this was before Frozen, I asked the kids, do you want to build a snowman? That's exactly what I asked them. And they were like, there's no snow outside. And I'm like, no, not that kind of snowman. A fabric snowman. And they were all for it. So that's what they did. So what I have done is I cut it out with white. And then I added some Stampin' blends in the light pool party to my letters. So I still have to finish up the last one here. The word snowman. And let me just grab, I'll use a whole stack of sticky notes here, just as my scrap paper. I had a bigger pack of sticky notes here, and I lost it. So all I did was I took my light, if I can pick it up, my light pool party Stampin' blend, and I just colored over this. Now you're not going to do this on your layout. You're going to do it on scrap paper. And I actually ended up doing it twice, just to make sure I got enough color on there. Yes, you could cut it out of pool party paper. You totally could. But I think this gave it a little different look. It's a little softer, a little lighter, and if I had wanted to, I could have left some of it white, made it look like it was shiny. But I just wanted something subtle. And I also am out of pool party paper. So this was a good compromise. Now, because the markers are alcohol markers, they do go through the paper. And so when you are doing coloring like this, you don't want to like color, 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 and then stick it right down and in a wayward manner on your page. Because in case it is continuing to bleed through, you don't want to have weird patches of marker on your page. So always use scratch paper, and as you can see, I kind of had mine sitting aside on another piece of cardstock. Now I'm going to kind of let these sit for a minute and then decide if I want to do a second layer. I might as well, because I did a second layer with the other ones. And I'm just using the brush end, just adding color. It doesn't have to be super even. You know, I could have even water brushed this on here if I, wanted to use the ink instead of the Stampin' blends. I could have sponged it on. Lots of ways I could have added color, but I thought, we'll use the Stampin' blends tonight. So there we go, light pool party. And pool party is one of the coordinating colors. Now, because of how I'm going to be putting my title on my page, I don't have to try and center anything. I'm going to do left justification if you're good with computers. And I'm going to put it on up in this plaid area here, which is also one of the reasons that my photos are offset and my flags were offset, because I knew that my title was going to be going in the upper left corner, and that is going to give it some weight up there, because right now you feel like all the weight is down here, but we're going to pull a little bit of the weight, not a lot because we made them light, but we're going to pull some of that weight up to this corner. So I'm just going to put that glue on my hand, tap, tap, tap. And we're going to start building our sentiment, not our sentiment, our title. Now, chances are I'm going to go crooked. And I'm just going to have to be okay with that. If you're not okay with that, look away, look away. And I did kind of lay it out, although the snowman's a little jumbled now, so that I don't have a spelling error. You just tap on your hand, tap off a little bit, and that keeps your glue from getting gobby all over your page. Tap, tap, tap. And I wanted my letters to be subtle. I could have used black. I could have picked pool party, any number of colors, but I wanted them to be there, but not to be in your face. I want it to be kind of one of those things you don't necessarily see the first time you look, but you discover it as you're looking at the page. Does that make sense? It's a good way to think about sometimes when you're adding things to your page. It's not necessarily that you want everything to jump out all at once. You want some things that have to be discovered. And that's what gives interest to your layouts. Besides having interesting photos, of course. And I have a feeling I'm going uphill. It's hard to tell because my plaid is uneven, but I'm pretty sure I'm going uphill. We'll combat that here in a second, hopefully, or we'll just continue in that pattern. I could have used a ruler, but life's too short sometimes. Do you want to build a snowman? You're welcome. That's going to be stuck in your head because it's been in my head all day. Do you ever get songs stuck in your head and they just don't want to leave? Hey, Ina. Nice to see you're watching. Good evening. I wanted to remind everybody that our crop starts on Thursday, the December crop. So if you're wanting to join, you're going to want to get on there and get your notifications set up so you don't miss anything. It's the December in Lapland crop. And for any of you who are unfamiliar, Lapland is the northern region in Finland. And so we're going to be traveling there and exploring some things, traveling virtually. It's the best way to do it because it's kind of cold there in the northern end of Finland. So this way we get to travel from the comfort of our house. And we can even travel in our PJs if we want. Snowman. Oh, see, I gotta pay attention. The M and the W are pretty much the same thing. So I almost put an M because this one isn't laid out. The same as the other words were. There, I almost did it again. I need the M. My M looks a little mottled. Look at that. That's okay. It gives it character. That's why we were doing it that way. Get a little character. And then the N. I'm running out of adhesive right at the last. And then we've got our little question mark. I think we might just have enough without having to re-glue my hand. And then the little circle, and I was so worried about losing this little circle, I actually die cut 2 of them. So I have an auxiliary backup circle over there in case I lost this one mid-video. You know, they talk about having your circle of friends. Yeah, sometimes you need a backup circle. There we go. Do you want to build a snowman? And then let's add a little bit of bling to this. And so just because there's a lot of fun colors going on, and going with the Rhinestone Basic Jewels. And yes, I got a new package with my order. I think we're going to grab some of these big ones and just go ahead and plop one right in the center of these big snowflakes, because they are just asking for a bling in that nice little spot in the center. Don't you think? It would be good if I put it in the center. Let's see if we can't adjust it, that one. That's a little better. A little bit of bling. Very nice. Bling, bling. And then let's add a few more. So they're sort of mid-size, and then a little smaller size. Or they're the same size. They might all be the same size. We'll just add some in that little snow globe, because that's fun. And then we can also add some up here. Like that. We could add a couple over here. Put them right near the edge. If I can grab it, just to kind of give you a little glitz over there to draw your eye to the title. And then, yeah, I think that's good. Alrighty. So that is our completed layout. Do you want to build a snowman? We started out with our basic white 12 by 12. We added in that fun, all kinds of really cool lines on that plaid, and then the snowflake little strip there. We carried that snowflake motif through by adding the stamped and die cut snowflakes. Then, of course, our fun patterns in the dovetailed pieces here at the bottom. Then, of course, all the fussy cut little bits to embellish. And you know what? If you're looking at a paper collection and you see that there are pages of things that you could fussy cut, it's kind of my economical way of not necessarily feeling like I have to buy the matching stamp set. Because sometimes you have to pick and choose what you spend your money on, right? We all have budgets. And so if there are pieces that I can fussy cut to embellish rather than stamp to embellish, then that definitely is a nice way to go. And you know it's all going to match, and the coloring is already done for you. So yay. And then we've got our cute photos there of my boys when they were little. They're not that little anymore. We've added some bling, and we added our little subtle title over there. And one of the reasons why I wanted to make it so subtle is because it was going to be a long title. And so it's just it's barely there. That was what I was going for, was barely there. All right, I hope you enjoyed seeing this. Do you want to build a snowman? Layout come together using the snowy scenes and the one-of-a-kind stamp set. I hope you feel inspired to create something like this of your own. If you do, take a photo of it, pop it in the comments under where I post the photos of my layout, and then we can all see and be inspired by yours. I hope to see you over the 4-day crop next weekend. Starts Thursday through Sunday. And have a great rest of your week. We'll see you again soon. Toodaloo. Bye.